shine down on me. From below, from above, love, I hope I'm worthy of. Oh, source of love, let your love shine down on me. Before the morning light, I already feel it shining. Before I open up my eyes, I already see it shining. When my road is rough, I can feel your love, and that's enough for me. Blessed love, holy love, sacred love, abundant love, source of love, let your love shine down on me. As above, so below, love from whom all blessings flow. Oh, source of love, let your love shine down on me.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Rabbi Meyer, and it is my honor to welcome you to Pride Shabbat here at Temple Emmanuel. It is wonderful to see so many faces here, and I know more are joining us online. It is such a pleasure to celebrate this moment in our calendar together. And we have lots of moments in the Jewish calendar, right? The high holy days on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we have a special time designated to really reflecting and thinking about our actions and promising to do better. But we know that that work isn't only relegated to those days. It happens all year long. It happens all the time. We have a special time in our calendar designated for being joyful on Sukkot, and yet we know that joy is part of the Jewish calendar all year long. We have a special time on Passover where we think about freedom, but we know that the work of making sure that this world is a more free place has to happen all year long. The same is true for Pride, and that we are here today to celebrate those in our community, the LGBTQ plus community, our community, to show that we support them and to show the Jewish values that stand behind this. But we know that this cannot happen only one weekend a year, and it is something that we need to do all year long. So I hope for everybody that today, like all of our other holidays, is an opportunity to reconnect to those Jewish values and really reflect and bring them into our lives and recommit ourselves to the work that we do all year long to live our values. We're going to continue in our prayer books on page 10, our prayer books on page 10, where we'll continue welcoming in Shabbat with song. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. One of our traditions is, of course, to welcome in Shabbat by lighting in candles, bringing a little bit more light into our lives in this holy moment of our week. And so I want to invite forward Molly and Mia and Mavis to help light our Shabbat candles and share some readings with us as well.
In a world of profane sights and ordinary thoughts, where gossip crowds out speculation and annoyance leaves no room to share each other's sufferings, we pause before profane things drown us out, that we might dwell upon the specialness of life, the electricity of godly moments, the lonely splendor of certain places, the holiness that at rare occasion in our lives encircles us with the reality of God.
That's okay. I can solve this problem, I think. Oh, yes. You definitely solved this problem. I can solve this differently. Well, we brought out the special candles for Pride. Oh,
There we go. There you go.
You thought we were giving you the easy job. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher
be blessed with a light of dignity, creation, and freedom. May we be blessed with a life of joy and love and peace. Amen.
Amen.
Let there be joy.
Let there be peace.
Let there be light.
Let there be Shabbat. Thank you. Yeah, Shabbat to all of you. It does feel like a celebratory moment. We are going to turn in our prayer books to page 5, where we will recite Kiddush, celebrating the holiness of this day. I invite you to please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. You may be seated. Just for a moment at least. We're going to turn in our prayer books now to page 20, where we'll find words of Lecha Dodi. Shabbat is seen as a bride, as a partner for the Jewish people that comes in and blesses us with her presence. And so we welcome Shabbat on page 20 with Lecha Dodi. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to verse 9, we'll all rise together. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'libo echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'meyachad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'lithinah. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof maaseh b'machshvat tchila. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, toreri, ki va'orech kumiori. Uri, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. בואי ושלום עצרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצהולה, תוך אמונם סגורה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקווה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקווה. We have welcomed in Shabbat, and so now let's take a moment to welcome in each other. Turn to the people around you, wish each other Shabbat Shalom, or just Happy Friday is also fine. You can be seated as we continue on page 24 for Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turning the page to 26 and 27. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. Yitkara v'yitkara shemei Rabbi, be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, u'b'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael. Bagala, uvizman kariv, v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach, le'alam alam me'amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yidroman v'yidnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha brichu, leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimeru, amen. We rise as we turn to page 28 for our call to worship, words of Baruch Hu. Yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da. Baruch Hu
We come together this Shabbat, each bringing to this sanctuary a private world of hopes, of fears, of dreams. Some of us are burdened by anxieties and cares that all but crash our faith in the future. Others have hearts filled with happiness, grateful for the joys of the past week, yet aware that even the most fortunate are vulnerable before the mystery of tomorrow. Every life is a unique blending of joy and sorrow, of fulfillment and frustration. Beneath our uniqueness, we are all bound together by our common humanity. All of us most deeply yearn for the blessings of freedom and peace. Each of us seeks the personal liberation of a mind that is not enslaved to conventional wisdom, a heart that is able to love without fear, a spirit that cries yes to the universe. Each of us strives, too, for the inner peace that comes with finding a harmony between our aspirations and our abilities. This is the Shabbat peace to which we aspire.
We continue on page 32 with Ahavat Olam. We'll read together on the top of page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated as we continue with words of Ve'ahavta on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'yisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. On page 39, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Our prayer for freedom on page 40, Michamocha. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai la lai la ya la 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 lai, yai la lai la ya la 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 lai. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nerav בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 יאי לי לי. On pages 42 and 43, we find Hashkivenu, our prayer asking for shelter from the things that might scare us or might worry us in the world. We're going to sing a melody that incorporates both the English and the Hebrew. The English can be found on the very top of page 43, and the Hebrew can be found on the top of page 42. We'll start in the English, we'll jump to the Hebrew, you'll catch on. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom. I've sometimes heard being an activist, being likened to being part of a choir, and that we need to be singing a lot in order to make our voices heard as activists. But I also know that being as part of a choir, you still have to breathe when you're singing, right? Or else you just can't sing anymore. So as in a choir, one person will breathe at a time so that you never lose the music, and yet people still get to take their breaths. I think Shabbat is a lot like that breath. And this word in our next prayer in Vishamru, Vayinafash, and be refreshed, has that same root as taking a breath, that we get to take our breath today and say, and be refreshed and ready to resume our work of activism and to recommit ourselves to the world that we are building, the world that we know we can one day have. Vishamru is on page 44. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בביטולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בביטולם. בין יובים בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We turn in our prayer books now to page 46. We've arrived at the central portion of our prayers, the tefillah, also known as the Amidah, our standing prayer. And we join together in these words, starting on page 46 and continuing on for the following pages without me calling page numbers. We're just going to keep going through them. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chazarim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chaste Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Movid HaTahal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishei Le'afar, Milchamocha Ba'agevurot, Umito Melech, Melech Memid Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahlelucha salah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated as we turn to our prayer for freedom, if not for freedom, our prayer asking for peace on page 60, in words of Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov Beinecha Levarech Et Amcha Yisrael Bechol Hit V'chol Shah Bishlomecha Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam. I want to invite up Lisa Steinfeld to share another reading with us.
Source of life, you have blessed each of us with your spirit. In your wisdom, you have made each of us a unique treasure. Wellspring of our lives, cause us to flow with courage, strength, and compassion to live our stories openly, proudly, and joyfully. Presence of love, you embrace us with your love. May we embrace ourselves, our partners, our lovers, our friends, our children, our dear ones with the power of your unending, boundless love. Spirit of peace and wholeness, open our eye to the gifts and blessings we offer and receive from each other. Open our heart to welcome each other, fully and truly. Open our hand to embrace, to support, to lift each other with joy, with song, and with deep friendship. Today, as we celebrate Shabbat, pride, and community, let us walk together with strength, compassion, and love. We bless you, wellspring of our lives. May you fill us with joy and sanctity.
Shkach. I invite you now to take a moment for Tfilat Halev, the prayers of our hearts. Yehu levatzon himefi leyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri vegoali As we turn to page 253 in our prayer books, we recognize that there are those who we are holding in our hearts who are in need of healing this evening, healing of body, of spirit, of mind. And so I invite you at this time to share their name, if you have their permission, to share their name with this community, either in the chat box online or here in this room, so that we might concert our efforts and concentrate our prayers, hoping that for full and speedy healing for all who we hold in our hearts. And for all those who we hold at our hearts, we continue on page 253 with words of Mishaberach Lecholim, our prayer for healing. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limahotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imahotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We can close our prayer books for a few minutes as we welcome up Max Lewick to introduce our speaker for the evening.
Thank you, Emily. Shabbat Shalom. It is my honor and privilege to welcome to Temple Emmanuel tonight's distinguished guest speaker, Asta Kill. Asta is a former attorney who advocates for an authentic culture change in the corporate world. She's a proud and open transgender woman who inspires and educates on how LGBTQ+ inclusion can make a difference in an organization's success and its people's happiness and prosperity. Currently, Asta is a corporate trainer with the Hugh Lane Wellness Foundation. The Hugh Lane Wellness Foundation was founded in 2017 to improve the health of the LGBTQ+ and HIV communities, offering a variety of services and resources to those communities, as well as expert training from experts like Asta, who help create spaces and opportunities for individuals to be their authentic, courageous selves. Friends, please join me in welcoming to Temple Emmanuel on this Pride Shabbat, Asta Kill.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very, very much for inviting me here to speak today. It was very inspiring to hear the prayer for healing, as I personally experienced religious trauma, and so did a lot of people in the LGBTQ+ community. And it is, I invite you to hear my story today. While it is not necessarily representative of the community, of the entire community, but we have shared struggles with religion and spirituality. But I hope that through sharing this journey, I can open your hearts and minds to embrace our shared humankind. As it says in Genesis 1:26-27, then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, after our likeness, so they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the cattle and over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move on the earth." God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. I invite you today to, as our understanding of what it means to be human expands, to also that it expands our understanding of the divine. I grew up in a small Catholic town in Bavaria and exposed to the binary of good and evil as taught by the organization. And my identity, how I felt, did not necessarily match with what was taught. Because I expressed myself differently, I was bullied. I would like to just simply take a break here real quick to differentiate a little bit and give you a little bit of a background between sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Sexual orientation means who I'm attracted to. Gender identity, my innate sense of self, including non-binary people. And an expression is the clothes we wear and the pronouns we use. And so my earliest memory of gender expression was in kindergarten. I asked my mom if I could get my fingernails painted, and she said yes, and I was so proud to go to kindergarten to show off my nails on picture day. And the first and all the other responses I got was, ha ha ha, you're a girl, ha ha ha. And that was the first reinforcement. And it continued through all my Catholic education, which happened to be in school, was taught in school. I remember stories about sitting in the wrong pew and the feelings of guilt for not being corresponding to what I was supposed to be. Confession, in my opinion, a form of reparative therapy, reinforced the labeling of certain behavior and the behavior of being bad. So there were very dark moments. I wanted this pain to go away. I wanted to escape. I wanted to leave this body. I wanted to leave this life. But I knew I couldn't. The good thing, good in quotation marks, was my fear of eternal damnation that actually prevented me from taking matters into my own hand. So I started praying. I knew that God did not make any mistake. The divine didn't make any mistake. For whatever reasons I didn't know, I asked, why me, why? I didn't get an answer, but I knew deep inside I could feel the divine spark. It was still there. And so I just prayed. And the prayer that I was taught in my tradition was the Lord's Prayer. So I prayed many nights, many dark nights, I prayed. And through that prayer, I could connect to that divine, the feral Catholic or the feral seeker. But it gave me that connection, and it gave me a certain strength by just connecting to the divine. And it helped me make it through. As I grew older, and I still didn't fit in, I had the blessing of being introduced to writers like Joseph Campbell, The Journey of the Hero, explaining about how all the myths in the different religions are shared across so many different cultures. And I could understand that these were just allegories of a human longing and the human journey. I heard or read books of Erich von Däniken. As crazy as it may sound, but it opened a world and it gave me freedom to think about it, beyond the narrow definitions. And he claimed that some of the stories in the Old Testament were about aliens coming to Earth, the Ark of the Covenant was a nuclear reactor, and the high priests wore special garments like hazmat suits, and the flying saucer of Solomon was an spaceship from aliens. And even though historians proved him wrong, but it allowed me the freedom to think beyond the established categories and to look at interpretation of Scripture in a different, new way, and it gave me the freedom to look at my own interpretation. And so I started to explore concepts of past lives, Eastern traditions, and the more spiritual traditions, including Kabbalistic teachings, Tantric teachings, and Gnostic teachings of the Christian faith. And I explored a sense of spirituality that gave me strength and still gives me strength to this day. It comes from deep within myself. I have started a different path of meditation to trying to find and nurture that inner spark, that connection to the divinity. And it has helped me to be where I am right now. About 4.5 years ago, I was professionally in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was in a furnished apartment all by myself in the middle of the night, separated from my family. And I was meditating, struggling with my gender identity. I knew I tried to negate it, I tried to ignore it. I couldn't anymore. And there in meditation, I found this total peace, connecting with the divine spark within me. I could find that peace, and I knew in that moment I would be okay no matter what, and that I have to be who I am and to express myself in this way. And it started a journey down the road and many tribulations. There was a time I had come back by then from Frankfurt, working in DC at the time. I was driving back from Washington, DC. A Friday night, it was around 11 o'clock at night, and there was this Pacific overpass. And my ex-wife at the time had just told me that it is over, and I felt everything was over. And I was ready again to drive into an overpass. But again, the divine saved me. A friend called that very moment, that very second beforehand, and I snapped out of it. That very second is what saved me and why I'm still here today. It was very hard, this journey to my authentic self. I was going through a divorce, a custody battle, a job change from Washington, D.C., from a corporate, very well-paid attorney job to a temporary project job just to be here with my kid and to not lose being with my kid. I was going through a gender transition, not knowing where I would end up. I credit my connection, my very personal connection to the divine with that transcends any formal religion or formal expression, but the very felt, innate spark. And this is what keeps me going. And that spark is, to me, is such a inspiration, what keeps me going. The compassion, the love, the mere acceptance that I feel from that spark is what motivates me going forward. I wish, and I'm still healing from the trauma, but I wish that through that connection and the healing that does come with it, and it takes time, but the healing and the connection. I would like to share a very, very personal story that I have not written down that shows how deeply connected I am to the divine now. I was driving here on Banksville Road, and I was arguing, as I argue with the divine many times. And the divine voice in me, deep from within, told me, Asta, okay, I had enough. I will tell you now. I will prove to you. I'm like, okay. And the divine said, go to the BP gas station on Banksville. You probably know them, the gas station. And I want you to go in there and buy yourself a lottery ticket. And you will win your lucky number. And I want you to only buy one ticket, nothing more than one ticket. And when you win, I want you to cash it out. I don't want you to reinvest it. I don't want you to anything. It's just a symbol that I love you. So I went in there. I bought a lottery ticket with $1. And I won $7. My lucky number. So I cashed it out as promised. I went back to my car and I started arguing rather than being thankful. So, well, where's the million? And I heard this beautiful voice inside that said, Asta, I didn't let you win $1 million because I love you. I want you to know and learn and grow. And if I give you $1 million, you will not learn. And so I finally got to the point of saying thank you. And I drove off. And this is just one of many stories that I am now very thankful that I had to go through these struggles and these tribulations to really find my personal connection to the divine. And this is what the message personally that I would like to share to anybody in the LGBTQ community who is struggling. And I know a lot of you are struggling, especially with being excluded from religious communities and being labeled good or bad based on your authentic self. I want you to know you can make it through it. There is a way for you. There's hope, and there's the divine that is there for you. And there are organizations that are there for you to help you through these dark moments. So hang in there. There will be joy coming again. I've now made it through this to a point where I can give back. I can share a little bit of this strength that I have gathered through my tribulations. So thank you for letting me share this story here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for being here to celebrate Shabbat with us. It is just an honor to have you here, and I'm so glad that we get to know your story and get to speak with you. And I understand that if we have any more questions, that you'll be available at the Oneg. That's our celebration afterwards. There are cookies, don't worry. So we're so grateful for you and your willingness to answer any of our questions that we have and to just share your story with us. Thank you. We're now going to begin to conclude our service by turning back in our prayer books to page 282, where we'll find words of Aleinu L'Shabach, page 282. I invite you again to please rise. We'll be on the bottom of 282. Aleinu L'Shabach L'Adon HaKol, Latei Gdula Letzek Reshit, שלא עשני כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמחקינו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. You may be seated. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This weekend, the Shabbat, Temple Emmanuel observes the period of Shloshim for Eileen Pechersky and Eleanor Young. We mark the yahrzeits of Arlene C. Abramovitz, Marjorie Armour, Joseph Berger, Pearl Bernstein, Louis Boudin, Lena H. Chetlin, Howard Davidson, Beatrice Phoebus Davis, Jacob Doniger, Rose Feldman, William H. Feldman, Michael Fuhrer, Rebecca Field, David Fisher, Sylvia Friedman, Jay Gerber, Nathan Ginsberg, Gloria Goodman, Leah Israel, David L. Jacobson, Leon Paul Katz, Arnold Keeley, Emmanuel Lushinsky, Laura Milgram, George J. Miller, Jacob Nevin Polly, Gerald Edward Pollen, Bella Raphael, Sarah Rorick, Maury J. Rosekrantz, Lester Rubenstein, Jacob Rive, Melvin Sachs, Nancy S. Seiner, Manuel Spritz, Barney Snyder, Mary Stolte, Richard Stein, Leo Stern, Abram Skulinski, Herman Weiss, and Harold Weiss. If I have inadvertently mispronounced a name, or if you have the name of someone else that you're remembering this evening, I invite you to share their name with us at this time. We now turn in our prayer books to page 294 as we rise to recite words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach, Le'olam Olmei Almaya, Yitbarach, V'yishabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Dekudusha, B'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damir an be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated again. want to take a moment to offer some thank yous to Molly and Mia Levine, to Max and Mavis Lewick, to Doran and Lisa Steinfeld, to Asta Kill, to Ellen Druck. Thank you for making this Shabbat so wonderful and sharing your talents with us and sharing your voices with us tonight. Thank you. I invite everyone to join, everyone who's here in person, to join us for Oneg Shabbat afterwards. It will be great to see your faces and to celebrate the Shabbat together. We are now concluding our service with words of Olam Chesed Yibaneh, which are not in your prayer books, but hopefully you'll catch on to the melody. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai. 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 I must build this world from love, yadadai, yadadai. And you must build this world from love, yadadai, yadadai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, yadadai, then God will build this world from love, yadadai, yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai. Shabbat Shalom.